Attention to a story of innovation where solutions can grow without soil. My guest is Smart Israel, founder and CEO of Smartel, a startup pioneer in hydroponic farming that uses 90% less water while boosting yields and also cutting carbon footprints. His work has earned global recognition from the Diana Award to the UN Habitat Scroll of Honor, and now he stands as a finalist for the United Nations SDG Action Awards, representing Nigeria this October in Rome as one of the heroes of tomorrow. Israel, thank you for joining us on Beyond the Headlines. Let's begin with your story. You're building Africa's largest AI model for crop disease detection, and your hydroponic systems can grow food with 90% less water. What inspired you to take this path?
Thank you, Mr. Nifemi. It's a great pleasure to be here and to speak to Nigeria about the work that we're doing at Smartel. I think food insecurity is a global crisis, and the impacts of climate change has worsened the effects. People that live in climate-arid areas are unable to grow fresh and organic produce, and the offshoots of the impacts of food insecurity can be seen in many different ways. Lack of access to fresh and affordable produce, but also ensuring that the affordable produce we get is nutritious and also can feed the growing population of Nigeria. I think growing up in the middle belt part of Nigeria, one of the things I experienced was the fact that the prices of food kept on skyrocketing every single time, and it never got down. And so we started asking questions, myself and a few team members today who are core at what we do at Smartel. How are we able to create sustainable food systems that feed the growing population of Nigeria, but also beyond Nigeria? How are we able to scale this across other African countries, regardless of the impacts of climate change? So it was a lot of research, it was a lot of questioning, but I think it's close to my heart and also the community where I grew up, and that is what inspired the work that I do today.
At what time did you go to Rwanda? Because I'm saying that you studied there and also did a lot of works, and at what moment did you take this back to Nigeria?
Yeah. So I went to school in Rwanda at the African Leadership University in 2022. I studied software engineering. I just recently graduated. During my time in school, we usually had something called eLab. And the idea behind eLab was putting students into groups and enabling them to come up with a solution that solves the pressing issues in their community or back home in the countries where they came from. Luckily a lot for me, we shared similar challenges with most of the people in my eLab team, and that was when we decided to say, how do we come up with a solution that solves a problem not just for Nigeria, but also for other African countries. We piloted the solution in Rwanda, and when we had a proof of concept, we then moved, and I came back home to pilot the same solution again, replicate it, and that was how I began working across board in Rwanda and also in Nigeria. Our work in Nigeria started in late 2023, but in Rwanda, late 2022.
You know, Nigeria is battling food inflation, insecurity in farming communities, and there's also the issue of climate shock. How can hydroponics and agri-tech realistically plug into the national food security agenda?
Well, the idea behind hydroponic systems is that you're able to cultivate plants without soil, and you're using 90% less water. What that means is instead of soil, plants are growing in nutrient-rich solution. And so we've created a system where the roots of the plants are suspended in the solvents that absorb the nutrient contents and give the plants the nutrients they need to be able to grow. What that means is that for land-scarce environments, especially in urban areas, because of the rapid urbanization happening in many cities in Nigeria, also because of population growth, you're able to cultivate food in a piece of land that gives you 8 times more outcome compared to traditional farming. But more importantly, in climate-arid areas where they have low rainfall and dry land, you're still able to cultivate because you're not utilizing the soil. The impacts of these are threefold. One is that you're able to have more produce compared to traditional farming on the same piece of land, which means that you have access to more food, and access to more food means that the price of food significantly reduces in the market. The second thing is that for areas where they have to import food at long distances, you're now able to produce food at your backyard, and that means you have access to not just food readily, but also nutritious food that you are able to measure the nutritious content, because most times when food are being transported from long distances, they tend to have a decline in nutritional value. The last is that our hydroponic systems are completely IoT automated, which means that it reduces human intervention on each of the system that is being used by the grower. And that means that average people who work a 9 to 5 are also able to farm and largely contribute to the increase in food production at scale across the country. So these are the 3 ways we are improving food security in the country using our technology.
It sounds smart, but one critic of agri-tech is that it looks good in pilot projects, but struggles to scale for ordinary farmers. So how do you ensure your solutions don't just stay in high-tech labs, but reach real people, markets, smallholders, and even urban families?
Well, that's a very great question. And I think it's something I usually talk about most of the times when we speak to smallholder farmers, which are in fact the primary people that we're reaching out to. The project we are working on right now is beyond the pilot phase. We have big facilities in just Nigeria and also in Kigali, Rwanda. We have partnered with the World Food Program and MasterCard Foundation to implement this program at scale. So it's beyond just the lab stage right now. It's actually on the field being tested in real time. The initial cost might be high compared to traditional farming, but one value proposition it presents is the fact that in the long run, the cost reduces significantly and smallholder farmers are able to utilize that. For our company at Smartel, we are piloting a pay-as-you-go model, which means that smallholder farmers who adopt our system don't have to pay the upfront cost. All they need to do is pay an initial deposit of 30%, which is in fact 50% less than traditional farming, and they pay the remaining percentage after every farming cycle. What that means is that the cost is reduced significantly, but in the long run, they enjoy the benefits of the system compared to traditional farming, which is in fact how we are scaling this. We started initially with hundreds of farmers. Now we're scaling to thousands across the city of Jos, Abuja, and many other cities within the north.
Break it down for us, especially how it works for smallholder farmers and families who have adopted this type of farming. How long does it take? How much does it take to set up? What kind of collaboration currently exists between the private sector and even state government in further establishing this?
Yeah. So when Mr. Nifemi orders our system, we give him a form to choose if he wants to pay an upfront cost or if he wants to go using the pay-as-you-go model. When he ticks the payment method he wants to go with, we offer him a 1-week training and installation service, and he can immediately start planting. Of course, you have to grow the seeds from seeds to seedlings. Then you take them from the seedling in the nursery into the system. But you're able to grow. One of the benefits you get from going using the system is that it is at least 80 times faster in terms of growth compared to how much plants can grow in traditional farming processes. In terms of partnerships, right now we've partnered with organizations that are non-governmental, like the World Food Program and also MasterCard Foundation. But one of the things we are also big on is training programs. We recently completed a training program with ITF, where we are training their staff on how to grow using hydroponic systems. So aside the fact that we are building this technology for smallholder farmers, we are also very big on job creation. How can youths who do not have access to large finance get access to this system? Now we're talking about reducing the barrier of entry into agriculture for youths. So this training mostly serves as an open door gateway for them to know how it works, then take advantage of our pay-as-you-go model to adopt the system, and now they become gainfully employed because the produce that comes out of the system gives them a lot more money compared to traditional farming, and it is sustainable in the long run. I will also add that we are also...
Allow me to jump in, Smart, and I apologize for that. Yeah. But why do you think the adoption rate with government has been slow? Because what we still have on a large scale is government providing fertilizer, helping soil cultivation. If hydroponics is the future, and it sounds so good like you put it, why do you think we're not exploring that at government level?
Well, I think a number of things. But firstly, awareness is a very big problem. Governments are very good at implementing policies, not always execution. What that means is that if government wants to implement a project, what they also look at is, are people aware of what we want to implement and how would the acceptance be? I would be very frank to say that the awareness about hydroponic system in Nigeria specifically and across many African countries is significantly low. And that's what we're constantly pushing for at Smartel. How do we ensure that people are aware of these things? It's like telling a farmer in a rural area that your farming activities traditionally is causing climate change problems. Sometimes they find it difficult to grasp or understand what it means or what climate change really is because they are unaware of it. And so I think this is one of the barriers towards large adoption. We need to create a lot of awareness about technologies that promote sustainable agricultural practices.
Yeah, and we're counting on that to see how that can materialize on a large scale. You're also developing Africa's largest AI model for plant pest and disease detection, and I understand that's backed by WFP and Google. You know, some argue that AI is a luxury when farmers lack access to basics like credit or even irrigation. What's your response to that?
Well, Mr. Nifemi, I think so many technologies at face value appear like a luxury until they become part of our lives and they become things that we cannot do away with. Maybe 25 years ago, having a cell phone or a mobile phone was a luxury, but it has become so ingrained in our lives that everyone has a cell phone, including people in villages. That's the way artificial intelligence looks like right now, but the way things are going, it is very important for us to note that at certain points, artificial intelligence would become part and parcel of our lives, and we cannot do without it. The question now becomes, how do we democratize artificial intelligence for people who cannot know about the technology or what happens at the back end, but do interact with the technology? That's what we are doing at Smartel, and the tagline is really democratizing artificial intelligence for the 33 million smallholder farmers in Nigeria. And so we are trying to see how they can utilize this system for their own benefit.
Smart, we have to go now. You're heading to Rome in October as finalist of the United Nations SDG Action Awards. You're representing Nigeria as one of the heroes of tomorrow. What does that recognition mean to you personally, and what message does it send about Nigerian innovation on the global stage?
Well, I'm very honored to be recognized as one of the heroes of tomorrow for the UN SDG Action Awards. And I think that recognition is a message to me that the work we're doing is not just ignored, but it's also relevant and it is useful. It's an encouragement that we're working in the right direction and we'll get there if we keep on pushing. But also, when it comes to what it means for other people doing very amazing things in Nigeria, I'm obviously not the only one. There are so many amazing people who are working in terms of energy and so many other sectors. But it means that our work is not going unnoticed, and that if we keep on pushing, we'll definitely get there. I said previously that governments are good at implementing policies and creating environments for people to thrive. But ultimately, we have the responsibility to make our lives better and ensure that our communities continue to thrive. Thank you so much.
Hydroponic farming, thank you so much for talking to us, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.